We actually opened the center in January of 1999. I started it because people without resources don't have access to courts. So I wanted to give at least some people who didn't have those resources the opportunity to have access to the court.
The Center for Justice is Spokane's legal advocacy organization. We work on a wide variety of issues. We work on social justice issues, we work on environmental protection, we work on issues of poverty law, and we overall try to make Spokane a better place to live for everyone. We work with the media, we work with elected officials, and if we need to, we go to court to try to resolve a problem.
You know, I see this Center for Justice as really being an ally of the police department. Certainly the center has a very strong advocacy role. Unfortunately, the community have been traumatized by the 2006 incident involving Otto Zem. And so the Center for Justice was a party to a lawsuit that was brought against the city to try to get the police department to go in a different direction.
To me, the most important way that the center impacts the community of Spokane is in its work with the poor and the weak in our society. And for students to be able to work directly with those clients and advocate for them, help them solve a problem, negotiate on behalf of them with others in the community. It's good for the students to work on behalf of those who are poor. It's good for students to work with others in the community. And it changes the way they think about the relationship between law, government, and society.
The center is working to create alternatives to incarceration. We have a program called Smart Justice, where instead of just putting people in jail, we look at what is their problem, are they better served, and is the community better served by addressing some other aspect and creating another alternative, such as mental health courts or drug courts.
There's one client that we have who spent over 10 years of his life in jail for driving offenses. And if you think that we spend, about $100 a day to have someone in jail, how much did we spend on him versus how much did he owe in tickets, which was the reason he was in jail, was because he was unable to pay his driving tickets. That's the goal of Smart Justice, is just to give people tools and help and get them back on their feet so they can contribute.
In my scenario, I went to jail when I was younger. I've been through the program once. I got my license. They just offered me, freedom to be able to do what I need to do, take my son to places, get back and forth to work.
You can imagine coming out of jail or coming out of prison and not having anything going for you. You don't have a job and you don't have a place to live. And for many offenders, their greatest vulnerability was getting caught without a driver's license, with a suspended driver's license, and it just seemed like a bottomless hole that they couldn't dig out of. I would hear it over and over again from people. This was the most significant thing that's happened for me through the Center for Justice system, is when somebody helped me get my driver's license back, and now I can work.
Some of these individuals who are in our relicensing, they want to feel a part of this community. They want to become a productive member of society all over again. And by going through our program, we help them get that back. This relicensing program is life to some individuals who haven't had a life.
Well, I think that society has to give a little bit and give these guys a chance and girls a chance, because they can come back and be productive members of society.
We're all better off when the poor and the weak are able to get their credit cleaned up, when they're able to get their driver's license restored. They then are on the streets, they're able to have insurance for their cars. We're all safer and we're better as a community because of the Center for Justice.
The phone rings on my desk, and as is often the case, when I'm answering, I don't necessarily have a clue what it's about. This had to do with some business folks in the valley who were running a small Montessori school. This problem was unlike anything I'd ever heard. Here, the problem was the Department of Licensing was upset because the school had not been taking adequate account of one of the parents and the family's religious beliefs. That's disturbing. And then I learned that the religious beliefs they weren't accommodating was a preference for race separation.
In the classroom, we do lots of cultural studies. I had a confrontation with the stepfather, He kept talking about his federal rights, I found that interesting with him being an Aryan.
That this parent's beliefs were highly volatile and were not going to leave room for accommodation and were very unreasonable from an economic standpoint.
The Department of Early Learning did not support us.
So DEL came at it funny at the lower levels. They were trying to uphold the idea of accommodation. They just got carried away.
But what happened was they took the side of the family.
The new stepdad is out there arguing about race mixing and arguing about how he was going to bring the law down on this lady and her little school.
One of our mothers, that's an attorney, said, "I think I have an idea."
I answered the phone and she says, "Rita, I've got some help." And then she started naming the Center for Justice. And Jeffrey, I've talked to them and they're willing to come and listen to your story.
I had to put together an appeal in writing, which I did. Finally got to an attorney general, low level, but an attorney general, who read it and got it, I suspect, immediately. And for them, the question was, how do we back out of this problem? Attorney General called me and said, "We're going to fix this." Said, "We're going to issue the license. We back the school. That parent's demands were not reasonable. He's entitled to his opinion, but he's not entitled to change the school to match his opinion."
And Mr. Feiner said, "It's over. They've ruled in your favor. It's over."
I just said to Jim, thank you for having a nimble organization that's mission is very directed, but has a little room in it so somebody could pick up a phone call from two teachers who were beleaguered and step in and do something good for them too.
I had a lawsuit up on 5 Mile Prairie where Spokane County took large tracts of land and put them into the urban growth area. We filled out all of their forms to see if they would accept this suit against the county, and they did. They accepted it. We really needed someone, an attorney, that would help us in the different briefs and everything that goes on. And Rick Eichstead actually had just come to the center, and he had a land use background. And so when we met Rick, that was the beginning of our partnership with the center.
Spokane County engineers had a plan to expand Bigelow Gulch Road into the North Spokane Freeway. They used corrupt and illegal practices to coerce people into selling their land for this project, and they refused to use the right process, an environmental impact statement, to study the real effects of this highway. Orchard Prairie is a 130-year-old community. Many people out here that live here are multi-generation. It's a farming community and a mixed-use community. We still have a little tiny school system, 7 grades. It's a very charming place to live. The Center for Justice took on our case because they felt that it was social and environmental justice. The fact that the center was there was so important to our community. It's been so important to other communities. I've been very pleased to be able to join the board and try to help to continue the efforts of the center, the important work that they do.
The Spokane Riverkeeper program was really grown out of the Center for Justice's work to protect the river. Today we are cleaning up trash along the river. This is our 3rd annual spring river cleanup. We are out there to clean up and protect and preserve the Spokane River, and what better way than to actually put boots on the ground picking up trash that would otherwise maybe get into the river or impact the river in some way.
We found a couple of tires, some milk bottles, a few socks.
The Spokane River is the reason why we have the city of Spokane where we have. It's been used for many generations as a resource for industry. My goal, the goal of the program, is to uphold the Clean Water Act and make sure that our rights to clean water are protected.
The Center for Justice Riverkeeper program came along as we were beginning to implement our new license. At Avista, we really appreciate working with partners like Riverkeeper program when we can focus on common interests and collaborative, cooperative ways to do practical, beneficial things for the river and the community.
The other part of our mission is to educate the citizens of the Spokane River Basin about the importance of a clean Spokane River. We collaborate, we educate, we litigate when necessary, and we work for a fishable and swimmable Spokane River.
I would say that the Center for Justice is the most important organization in the city when it comes to giving advice and unbiased opinion.
You know, the community has to have a voice in the oversight of its police department.
The voters spoke very clear with Proposition 1, 70% vote, that it's time for our ombudsman to have the ability to do independent investigations. The center has taken a very active role in holding the city to that and trying to get moving to the next step of actually implementing what the voters said that they wanted.
You need somebody outside the organization that challenges you to get better, that makes you do some very important soul searching.
The reforms that have resulted in our police force would not have happened if not for this persistence of the Center for Justice.
If the Center for Justice wasn't there, my fear would be many people would be voiceless. They're really my go-to organization when it comes to anything to do with social services or social justice.
And they do their work with such great humanity that I don't know of a client that has used their services and come away unchanged.
The center fills a unique role in terms of being a watchdog.
You really truly become a partner. You just don't go to an attorney's office.
It would be absolutely impossible to do the work I do without being connected with the Center for Justice.
We're working hard to increase our support in the community. That means increasing individual donors who understand and appreciate the value of the center, where we receive funding from foundations from across the United States, and look for other options as well.
We need lots of really small and medium donors, along with the big donors. We really need to have public support to keep the center active and going, an important member of our community.
Our lawyers and our staff and everybody involved have a marvelous heart.
The same old way doesn't work anymore. Our economy is broken. Our system isn't working for the people, and you need places like the Center for Justice in order to get that moving in the right direction.
It all amounts to giving access to people who don't have access, which is the majority of the people in this country, I think. And I just want to see all people have the same opportunities that people with wealth have.